Sorry. So there's no chance that, Gaius was a sword swallower in the circus?
Well, yeah, this is, and I tried to twitch my fingers, just like Lucy did, going, I could still be alive. Medicus, you know Medicus? The guy fantastic looking guy who appears every now and again when you need him. And we just thought maybe he was a brilliant microsurgeon. And he just stitched the entire sort of esophageal tract and the stomach back together.
He was ahead of his time.
But sadly, we're here and they're there shooting, so I think we're not going to be in it.
Since that's probably the case, have you guys this summer sort of had a little empty place inside going, I feel like I should be dirty and fighting? And,
no.
And I kind of miss that.
Well, Craig, randomly just slaps people. I get asked to fetch wine. I'm like, why?
I roll around in the dirt every now and then. I don't know why. It just kind of happens, but...
And I think we all have a little hollow, empty place in our hearts, don't we? Don't we? Maybe just now, while we're here, just reach over with your hand like this. Just take your hand out like this, please, for me. Everybody. We're all here, in the spirit of love and geeky power together. And take that little hand, just reach over and put it on the thigh of the person next to you. All of you.
Don't sue.
Just the thigh.
Everybody needs to do it or somebody's going to get
Come on,
left
it's
out.
nothing icky. This is just adults being honest and
I want to
sweet.
know what's going on under this
It is
table.
love for your neighbor.
Just on the thigh, and just on the count of 3, just give it a gentle squeeze, just a gentle squeeze.
You can sigh at the same time.
And I just want you to look to them.
Craig Parker.
It'll be the back of their head because they'll be looking to the person there too. So look at the back of the head and just go, I love you, mate. So let's do that on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
You just sigh.
Do we feel better? That little place just filled up, just a tiny bit.
I'm kind of glad I only had the podium to squeeze.
You don't want to know what's going on under the table.
Thanks.
I do. I like you.
All right, so let's talk about, since we're on the subject, let's talk about death scenes. What was it like shooting your death scenes? And were you surprised? You probably weren't that surprised that you were.
Well, Mira got axed. And it was just funny trying to walk around and eat lunch all day with this massive axe sticking out of my chest. So it was a little awkward. But the death scene, it's relatively easy to die on the show because you've watched so many people die before you that you just kind of follow in their footsteps.
Their bloody footsteps.
Yes.
And it's also, you're sort of not surprised because you've read the script, hopefully. Though some actors, sometimes you wonder, have you read the script?
No names.
Yeah, but we all they kept the way we were going to die reasonably sort of quiet up until 10 came out. 10 was kind of a reveal surprise. So everyone sitting in corners going, what's going to happen? How am I going to die? Ooh, someone dies, like, wow. Ooh. And, but the shooting of those things, which, in the scene it's reasonably fast, it just takes so long. And you're covered in blood and we're doing fights and it's and by the end of it, you're just so tired and so knackered that you just want to die anyway. So, kill me. Look, I slipped and had a brain aneurysm. Dead. I can go home now. So.
I think my favorite when we were filming Gods of the Arena was when Tim died, the original Doctor, Timuera Morrison, who played Peter's, predecessor.
Who was also Jango Fett in Star Trek.
Yes, and he was in the Green Lantern Star Wars. So...
Wrong place to get that wrong.
I know, forget them.
Spirit hoods.
It's alright, it's not the real Star Wars films.
But, so Peter kills Tim, and you're going to start a riot, mate. And I have not got your back. I've got his back.
I got your back.
But Tim, is getting carried out. And as they're filming in the close-ups on Peter, and he's very emotional because he's just killed his, boss, so to speak, his mentor. And Tim has been carried out and he just raised his middle finger right on Peter's close-up. And obviously cracked up laughing, but it was hysterical. We were all watching from the balcony. It was fun.
Death, it's funny, isn't it?
All right, so we recently learned that this coming season is the last season. Did you guys know about that before?
Yeah.
What did you think when you found out? Were you surprised about that, or?
I think I always like when shows go out with a bang. I don't necessarily enjoy when shows go on and I jump the shark and then all of a sudden there is a zombie Mira and all these different things. So I think it's a really good way to go out. It's going out strong. And I think more importantly, are just making an impact and they're staying true to character and to what they want to portray through the storyline. So I think that's the best way.
The story ends too. It's a finite story. You know, it's not like you can have 7 seasons of the show. I mean, it's based on history. So, like Katrina said, go out with a bang, and it'll be a bang.
And I think, and this season too, because they know it's the last, they've been able to go, okay, let's put this much money. As the show's progressed, the money hasn't necessarily got more, but the ability to what the guys can do with that amount of money has got so much better. So just you look at the visual effects from episode 1 of series 1, and it's a little bit hokey. And the things they can do now, and one of the things that's happening in this series, I think you can see in the trailer. Have you guys seen the trailer? It was we showed it. We were drinking, so we didn't know. Just jokes. Wish we were. But you know, there's the shot of the battle scene, and then it goes. Doesn't make that sound, but it should. And it's huge. It's this epic battle, and they've bought the software that was created for Lord of the Rings called Massive, which creates these synthetic soldiers, but they're intelligent, so they make decisions within battle. So you can program it to say there's 100 million people having a fight.
Some guys will die.
Some guy, you know, these people are going to win, these aren't, and it creates individual little characters. And sometimes they get scared, and this is what happened when they first ran it on Rings. It was an orc and people fight, elf fight or something, and they went, and some of them went, and these little computer-generated characters just ran away. And they're using that. It's the first time ever used on television. And so there are things like that. This series that they're going. It's our last one. We want each episode just to get bigger and bigger. And Ken Biller isn't giving them the script for 10. He's basically going. He's not releasing drafts. He's not doing anything. He's going to deliver a finished script to the executives. No network in the world would let that happen. But they trust him so much. They've gone. Okay, so, you know, who knows? Spartacus may live.
I think that's what's so amazing about the show is that it's broken so many grounds. I mean, I'm sure you guys would agree when it first came on air, it was just like, what the fuck? You know, it was amazing. And kind of in your face and unapologetically so, just gritty. And it's quite good, actually, as an actor to have been a part of something that's kind of made its mark in television, and especially with a network like Starz that is now branching into so much more original programming. You know, Stephen DeKnight's got, you know, his new project with Starz coming out. What's the name of the...
Spartacus 2.
Sorry,
Spartacus in space with guns.
Well, I know.
It's a new show.
I've been Skyping, you know, some of the actors that are still on the show, and they have been just telling me how big this third season has been for them. And coming from some of them, I think just Manu and Dan are left over from the first season, but they're just saying that they've come off of sets for 12 to 14 hours of nothing but fights, and that Marcus Crassus is going to be an amazing character for all of you people that want to go back to the Roman side, and the rebels are just fighting their little butts off. And they're just saying it's so big this year, so I think you guys have a lot to look forward to. I think season 3 is going to be amazing.
Well, Stephen has a habit of not leaving anything on the table from episode to episode, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah.
he will kill you whether he loves you or doesn't love you as a character, you know, like he... Don't look for story fairy tale endings on Spartacus.
I think it's so satisfying as an audience member, though, because you do get resolutions. You don't. It's not cliffhangers. You don't go from one season to another going or you get a couple, you know, with the Lithia and the Asher character and even the Glaber. But that just you got your resolution by the end of season 2. And I think that's one thing that Stephen DeKnight's really good at, is just making sure the audience is satisfied by the end.
We promise you it won't be the ending of Lost. Just saying.
All right, if you guys have questions, there's a microphone over here. Why don't you start lining up?
Can I just ask you a quick question? Are they plushy hats?
Spirit hoods.
No, they're spirit. Craig.
What are they? Spirit hats? Hoods.
And they have pockets at the bottom so you can put your little hands in it. And
They are so
be
cool.
adorable and warm at the same time. Spirit hoods.
Cards over there.
15% off.
I had to say that. I get 5% of the company, so it's... What great hoods those are! Where can I buy them?
I love your costume right up here. You look awesome.
You should get some sunlight. Just saying.
All right, go ahead and start lining up. While they're doing that, Katrina, you told me one time a great story about your bow and arrow experience. It was kind of a mishap, maybe, or a dare.
Well, we go through gladiator boot camp, and then throughout the season you train with whatever weapon you're fighting with. And when I first got the bow and arrow, I guess I had a little bit of a natural talent for it. I could kind of shoot it in the direction it was supposed to go. So eventually they're like, this is 20 minutes into the first time I've ever touched this bow and arrow. And they're like, oh, you're doing great. Now what I need you to do is just lift and shoot. So it looks like you're just really fluid at it. And I'm like, I've only been holding this thing for 20 minutes. I don't know if that's good. They're like, no, just go for it. So of course, I go for it. It completely misses the target, hits the cement wall in the back, shoots back 50 feet, goes behind me. The entire stunt crew that's standing behind me basically does this dive to get out of the way. So yeah, that was training on Spartacus. But then I eventually got good at it, and they had bet me during one of the shoots that if I could hit the cameraman or the camera, I would get $5. And I hit both of them, and I never got my money.
But the camera costs $1 million. And there is a widow somewhere.
All right, first question.
Is it on?
Is it on?
Do big voice. Big voice!
Outside voice.
How about you look at that and I'll yell back? I would like to know if you guys have anything that you're super passionate about that you would come to a convention for.
Oh,
Good question.
good question. Star Trek.
Oh.
Last time I was the Wizard World in Philadelphia, I got my coveted photo with Captain Janeway from Star Trek, so I was very excited.
I don't know if I have a kind of single thing. The thing that I do adore is because through the day you get to kind of see everyone go past, and it's when you see like the little kids.
Yeah.
And I remember doing this as a kid. That Mum made me a Batman costume in the days when it was Adam West Batman, and my mum was a good sewer and all those kind of things, but it's kind of hokey, and you see a few of those that you know that mum has made or someone's made, or dad. It's not necessarily mum doing the sewing. I
There are
apologise
some
for that
guys with mad
antiquated
sewing skills.
sexist statement, but and there'll be a kid, and even if it's kind of a slightly hokey costume, you know in their head they are the coolest superhero in the world, and they're standing there and they look fantastic. And so those kind of moments, you go, that's kind of how I describe it when people say, "Who goes to these things? Is it just freaks?" And you go, "But you know this. You must have it with people." And I go, "It's like when you're a kid." And I say, "Yes, it is." But it's the way I describe it is it's that thing you do when you're a kid and you dress up and you feel so cool. It's a weekend where a whole lot of adults get to play that same game again and do it, in the company of like-minded freaks, and it's the best time in the world. It's like a huge kind of fancy dress celebration, and I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I agree with Craig. It's a relatively new world for me. Philly was like my first Comic-Con, so I was just amazed at the thought that went into these costumes. Like yourself. I was, there are people with like X wounds and blood, and I'm like, wow, you are committed, lady, because you are walking around all day, and it was humid and hot in Philly, like with sticky
Those wounds
blood,
fester.
and they fester, and there were maggots, but I did get excited in Philadelphia because, I know you guys know him from Star Trek, but